All right, we're at Train Mountain Fall Colors Meet. Just rolled out of the yard here. Conductor has her Cowboys hat on. She doesn't like to be on camera, so that's why we put her on camera. All right. We're gonna make our way through the yard and go try to pick up a rider car because we have some relatives coming in that want to check out what Train Mountain's all about. Maybe we'll get them to join as members, get them to rake some pine needles. You can see what happens even this time of year. Pine needles are starting to fall already. And so in the spring, we're gonna come through and rake all that stuff up. Those are boxes of green blocks, and the purpose of those is if you derail, you throw one down on the ground right at the spot you derailed, and that alerts the track crew that there's a problem there, and if you get a couple of them, then that really alerts you to take it easy through that area, because it means it's not just one person. Okay, we're gonna make a reverse move because I saw a part on the ground, a mangled part that glinted in the sun. Where'd it go? Well, I don't see it now. It was a stainless steel grab iron from a locomotive or a rail car. Yeah, it's part of the ballast. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's a safety chain link that's parted ways. I'll put it in my little gear bucket here. We collect parts that we see on the track, and then there's a little thing in the back shop where we just pile them all up. Okay, we've got 3 signals. The top one is the straight route. The bottom 2 are diverging routes. So we're going to select our route. We want to go over to back shop, I think. Yeah. So that'll take us through the 6-acre campground. Okay, see, it just turned green. If I wasn't holding the phone, I'd ring the bell every time we started a movement, but I don't have that many hands, and it's not that important out here. On a full-size train, you want to ring the bell before you start moving, just to alert anyone nearby that you're about to move. And it's good practice with little trains too, if you've got enough hands. But I left the phone gimbal mount at the hotel room, so we're doing this the regular way, handheld camera. We'll try it on our next time out if I can remember to bring it back. Okay, flashing yellow is not as restrictive as solid yellow. It just means be ready to stop. If it was solid yellow, you might expect the next signal to be a red. And you can see the bottom signal is the diverging route, top is the straight route. We've got a green or a clear. So we're gonna cross over. Just double check there's no traffic over there. And the skies are turning purple. So we may have a little issue here. We may get a little bit wet today. Flashing yellow. We can proceed on through. We've got lights and gates. There's all the full-size snow moving equipment. Fire danger is just at high today. It's not very high or extreme. For those new to the channel, the switches on this railroad are mostly variable point or spring switches, which means you can run through in a trailing point movement without aligning the points. So for example, a trailing point movement is one we're about to do on this switch, where we're running through and converging on 2 tracks. And you could go through these points either way and not do damage because there's a spring on there. We got to pay attention to signals here. Okay, we're lined for the main route. On a regular railroad, if you have what's called a rigid switch, that means there's a solid steel bar that connects the points, which are the moving part of the switch, the pointy part right there. Solid bar connects those to a switch stand, and that's spiked into what they call head block ties. And none of that's meant to be movable. If you go through that switch and the points are aligned for the other route, it's going to bend something. It's usually that rod. So railroads have adapted to that because there's some circumstances where it's inconvenient to get out and realign those. For example, streetcars, a lot of times they'll have a spring switch or a variable point switch where you don't have to get out and align them. You can just run through them and it'll move out of your way. Okay, here's another signal. So that's approach. We can get through that one. I can smell the pine needles. There's a little bit of warmth from the sun still. So here at Train Mountain, there's so much traffic that it's not practical to have rigid switches, especially with the various levels of experience in railroading. Any of us that have run full-size railroads always look at the target and the handle and the points to make sure that that switch is lined right. And we'd stop the train and get off to realign it. But out here, you're not going to get that. You've got people who've never been on a full-size train, all the way up to people who've run railroading for 50 years. And we need to move traffic quickly and efficiently because there are a lot of people during the busy meets. So they do all these variable point and spring switches to accommodate that. Okay, we want to head to the back shop, I think. We got to plot our route here. Oh, there's a train going by underneath the bridge there. Yeah, what's up? Oh, check the weather. Yeah, let's pull off into a side track and we'll confer. Okay. Okay. This means restricting. It's equivalent of a yellow. Those Pensy signals replicate a semaphore arm. So if you have vertical straight across, that means stop. If it's diagonal upward, that's yellow. And if it's straight up and down, that's the equivalent of a green. Same with the dwarf signals. You can get the same aspects from that collection of lights. And we're in yard limits anyway, so we need to keep our eyes and ears out for traffic. So I'm always looking over my shoulder when we converge with other tracks because some people get by signals. They might be talking at their phone like I am and not paying attention. We're going to go over some of this lumpy track here. And I'm going to go really slow because this is some of the older track with aluminum on wooden ties. I'll show you an example of what that looks like. You can see the sun has kind of checked some of those wooden ties. This is aluminum rail. There's a comparison of aluminum rail on plastic ties. That's an equivalent of Trex material. But some sections haven't been replaced yet. This is some of the old original track. It's expensive because you can see there's a dozen or more switches right in a row here, and it's a lot of work. So the track shop eventually will crank out a bunch of switches. While we're here and there's nobody behind us, you can see all the track cars over there with panel track on them. I'll zoom in once I get my glove off. There's some straight sections. That's steel rail on tracks. And you can see many cars. Those cars can hold up to 6 panels and they're about 100 pounds a piece. So that's some serious weight. When you're hauling those trains, you have to have good brakes, otherwise you'll get in trouble on these hills. If you go down a 3% grade with a heavy train, You have to have some braking force. Otherwise, imagine a marble on a steel tabletop at an angle. It's just going to keep rolling faster and faster. So they use fairly heavy, powerful engines. Most of them are gas hydraulic drive systems. They usually use like a Briggs and Stratton engine to power a hydraulic system. And then they have other cars. There's some pine needle cars there, the big wooden boxes. And they have handles, so you fill them with pine needles, and then you can dump them in certain areas after you get everything cleaned up. There's other cars there that can be used for various things. Those have cut off tie-ins from track projects, and those can be used for various meets. And then here's some more longer panel track cars, the flat cars. That one can haul wood. I like flat cars because they're fairly universal. You can haul a lot of different things on them. That's why I use them on my train. They have to function for more than one thing. And I remember one of these last time we scraped on. So I'm going to lean back so my snowplow doesn't catch this high rail here. I think they might have fixed that because that's a lot better than it was before. They have track crews that come out and maintain this whole railroad, in addition to volunteers. Most of them are volunteers, but they also have some guys that are just regular, dedicated members of the community that come out here and maintain this stuff. Hundreds of hours of maintenance to keep this place running. Probably thousands if you count all the other infrastructure. Somebody's got to maintain signals, and there's frost heave that goes on. And we did okay. That was kind of the lumpiest part of the section. But there's still time to go on the ground. And that characteristic sound is thumpity bump when you start running over ties with your wheels. And if it's really bad track, it gets real smooth because it just starts taking everything out. There's some more utility cars, some shorty cars, and some longer maintenance cars. Here's what we call Containerville. You can see, if I zoom in, people have racks of track, and there's a transfer table for that back row. The front row has immediate access to the yard. This is high value real estate, so it would be fun for us to have one and split the cost with a few other people. And then you don't have to trailer or truck your equipment from one place to another. You just leave it parked in there like a garage. Conductor is asking what the plan is, and we don't know what the plan is, so we're going to make it up. We got a train there. We're going to just park here for a minute. All right, we were looking up at the sky, and it's threatening to rain, so we decided to have Katie's relatives defer to a different day when we're not going to get rained on. So consequently, we left the rider car behind because you're not really supposed to check them out until you actually need them. And so we are going to go back and tie up the train before these clouds let loose and go eat some lunch, because that's the other fun part of this trip, is eating a lot of food. We have to pick our way back through Grand Central here. And we've got a solid red, which means no go, bro. Hey, it just detected us. Oh, it's getting windy. America. And the trees are gorgeous. I'm going to stop and take a picture of this. As the green chlorophyll breaks down in the leaves, you're seeing what's under there. These reds are typically anthocyanins. Yellows and oranges are carotenoids, and browns are tannins. So that's the tree chemistry that you're seeing underneath the green chlorophyll. It would be metabolically expensive for the plant to lose the chlorophyll when it drops the leaves, so it breaks it down and stores it in the roots and branches during the winter. Some nice bright red leaves on that tree. This one's starting to get the hint. That one branch is starting to go. There's the vendor barn. got green signal all the way down. At some point I need to pick my path, so I'll do it on this little control box. We're on a grade here, so I'm gonna throttle back and use regen. Crisp yard. Push that button and it'll light up. There we go. How's it going? There's a flashing red up ahead, which is less restrictive than a solid red. So that means we can get by it without losing our job. There's the Ellingson turntable. That's where we parked during Triennial. This meet is not busy enough to need that facility. We could use it if we wanted, but it's a little extra work to get in and out of there. Another beautiful fall colors tree. Have some leaves on the track. But we still have some purple flowers in bloom there around the turntable. There's a yellow signal. The signal to the right applies to our track. Some pine needles. At Triennial, this whole thing was full. Every last track occupied, mostly by steam locomotives. It is getting cool now that the sun's been blotted out. We're aiming for track 16. A couple of diamonds to go over. They call them diamonds because of the shape of the rails. It allows you to cross over. Some more purple plants. Tracks have labels. There's 13, 14. Here's 15, 16. So I need to get out and kick this switch over. I'll show you how these work. There's a spring-loaded tab that allows this to ride up and over the pin. So when you kick it, the pin keeps the points tight against whichever side you have selected. I'm feeling rain any second now. And then it's bad form to leave a switch line for other than main track. So we're gonna switch that back so that a following train can get out without having to stop and reline all this stuff.
Why doesn't that one have a little switchy?
A switchy?
Like this one. See it's got the little toggle in it? Stick in that one.
Yeah, I think it may have fallen in disrepair because most of them were this way. See, with this one, they call this a spring switch. So let's say you back in, you can see how that works. That allows the train to come through from that direction, but you can hold the position. So if you always want to leave it lined for that, it's really convenient. Here's where you'd normally leave this switch. So you can back out of here, and when the wheels hit this, the points move, but as soon as you get over it, they spring back. Clever idea. They're a little more expensive than the other kick switches. Okay, 15 and 16. I think we want 16. So we'll get out. This is another spring switch, which is really cool. You can just throw it like that. You always want to make sure the point is right up against the rail, because if you have a gap, which way is the wheel going to go? Then it's up to the wheel. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to have a situation where the point is not up against the rail, because it'll derail your train. On what they call a facing point movement, that's when the tracks are diverging as you face them. We're going to get parked here before we get rain, get everything covered up. And we have arrived. Thanks for watching. In following episodes, we're going to go all the way out to Hope Circle. So stay tuned, hit like, and subscribe for more updates.